Hey, everyone, Dennis K here with Belize Islands Real Estate. Hope you all are doing well today. Hey, listen, I want to go through some information with all of you who are currently buying property in Belize, or if you are looking at buying property in Belize, because I want to make you aware of some of the nuances of what's involved in making a successful transfer of property from one buyer or one seller to another buyer. And I think as you go through this information, you'll see that there's a lot that you and I can do right from the start in our working together to make sure that we have covered a lot of the basics and that you as the buyer have the information that you need to successfully purchase a property. And then you as a seller, if you're looking at working with me and selling your property, that you also have everything you need to make sure that you can transfer title as easily and smoothly as possible. Sound good? All right, so let me go through kind of this information with you. I'm going to, first of all, do a little bit of a share screen. And as you see on your screen now, I've named this slide, what could delay a closing or having a new title issued? All right, so here's about 9 things that I've come up with. I'm going to kind of go through them briefly here, but some of these things are really good to know for all of us, myself, Alberto's team, buyers, sellers, everyone. So number one is what could delay a closing or having a new title issued is the sellers not being able to produce a free and clear title. Now, what might prevent them from being able to do so? Well, here's an example. A seller comes to me with a property. They have it titled. It's in their name. The title looks free and clear. It's good to go. And once we put that title under contract, then Alberto and his team at the BCI office, it's their job to make sure that the title is able to be transferred. So they're going to do a title search on it, right? Most of the time, 90% of the time, those titles come back free and clear. There's no liens or encumbrances on them. There's nothing that would prevent them from being transferred. But once in a while, something does come back. Perhaps the seller has a bank loan on their property that they just might have forgot about, or they thought that the bank loan was paid off and still the caution is there. So we might have to work with the bank. And typically in Belize, the banks aren't the quickest to respond. So a normal 60-day close, which we put in most of our contracts, may be delayed by a few weeks or even a month or more, depending on how quickly the bank can remove that caution. Another thing that could prevent that title from being free and clear and being able to be transferred is, for example, number 2, and maybe the seller has not upgraded to a land certificate. So maybe the seller has an old form of title, such as a deed of conveyance. Well, now most of the island of Emperor's Key falls under the new Registered Lands Act. And so that means that before selling their property, they would have to apply for first registration and get that new land certificate title. Now, sometimes that could take 3 months, could take 6 months or more, especially now with the lands department backed up. So, for example, a seller may come to me and say, Dennis, I have this beautiful property at Secret Beach. Here, I can show you that I am the owner of it. I have my deed of conveyance. I have currently applied for land certificate, and I would like you to sell my property. Well, I can do that. I can advertise the property. We can get the property under contract. We can put a closing date on it, but we can't actually close and do a title transfer until that seller gets their land certificate in hand. And again, it's out of our control how long that might take. So just know that. And I would usually tell you that up front, that this property is in the middle of being upgraded, and we just have to wait till it's upgraded in order for us to be able to have a successful close. Also, number 3, it could be that the seller's due diligence is not up to date. Now, what could that mean? Well, for example, if I have a client in the United States, maybe a husband and wife own a property together, they can show me that their title is a land certificate. It's free and clear. There's no problems with the title. But what if maybe the husband or wife's passport has expired? Well, the lands department in Belize requires current up-to-date identification in the form of a passport in order to do a title transfer. So it could be that maybe one or the other has to apply for a new passport or something like that, or it could be something else, but many times when you see me advertise a property, especially if it's on my YouTube channel or it's something that I know I've investigated, I can almost guarantee 90% of the times everything is in order. Where I can't guarantee, or I don't know so much, is if it's a third party listing. So, for example, if you come to me and say, Dennis, I found this property on another person's website, or I've seen this advertised someone else, normally I'll have a discussion with that listing agent, say, hey, what's the deal with this title? Is it able to be transferred? And normally they're also pretty good at vetting their sellers. So once in a while, we put something under contract, we put a deal together, and then in the process of discovery, Alberto's team realizes, okay, there's something that is going to prevent this from closing on time. There's a problem with the title, there's a problem with the seller's identification, something like that. The company's not up to date, and so it's going to take some time to work out the deal. Now, as we've discovered that, here's what you could do. As the buyer, I could come to you and say, you know what, this is going to take a little bit longer to close. What would you like to do? So most of my buyers say, yeah, I don't mind, because that's the property I want. That's the price I want it at. I don't care if it takes 90 days to close or 6 months to close. I want the property. In that case, we just sit and wait, try to get everything worked out. At the end of the 5, 6 months, 9 months, whatever it is, if the deal still hasn't gone through, then we need to look at, okay, well, what is the real holdup? Is this going to take forever? Is this something that's tied up in the legal department? So, for example, some of these things get tied up with, in the legal departments, they're not quickly resolved. You just got to say, you know what, if that's the case, let me just, get my earnest money back. Because remember, your earnest money is fully refundable if the seller is not able to produce free and clear title. So you get something under contract, you put in the earnest money. For one of these reasons, the seller can't perform. You can decide immediately, you know what, want my money back? It's okay, Dennis, let's look for another property. Or you could ride it out, and wait. Totally up to you. Give you another example. Had a very good client of mine put a property under contract just south of Secret Beach. The seller was able to produce title, local seller. He had his current ID, had a current title. In the process of doing the title search, Alberto's office realized that this particular set of titles had cautions or liens against them from another third party, right? The seller was not aware of that. He had no idea that that was the case. And this lien or caution now is taking some time to get removed. I don't need to go all the details now. So now the buyers have a decision to make. What are we going to do? Are we going to wait? Are we going to move on to another property? That's something we can always discuss when the time comes. Now, points number 4 and 5, this is applicable to our buyers. So, for example, as a buyer, you should know that in order to close on a property, you need a current valid passport. Now, it could be that you need to renew your passport. We realize right now, even with the US, we're having delays in that, but you need to provide due diligence to Alberto's office. And if you fail to do so in a timely manner, that could delay the closing. For example, once you put a property under contract, Alberto's office will email you, usually within 48 hours, sending you the earnest money wiring instructions and sending you several forms to fill out. They need those forms filled out and sent back as soon as possible because they need to do their investigations, their sellers and their buyers. All that paperwork has to be in, all the IDs have to be in. Also, it might be that the buyers need to form a company in order to take title. So, for example, if the buyers are buying a property with their self-directed IRA, it could mean that they need to form a Belize IBC or an American LLC. That can take a little bit of time. So again, even though we set up the closing to be a 60-day window, those things need to happen really rapidly. Like we need to see, okay, what are you going to form? How quickly can we form it? Get the forms back, all that kind of good stuff. Otherwise, we might run past the 60 days. Now, the other things that are out of our control, so we just talked about the sellers and the buyers, but also there are things that are peculiar to Belize, the way the paperwork is processed in Belize. So for example, right now, the lands department has a huge backlog of work. Now, since COVID struck, March of 2020, when everything really started to build up, there's been a tremendous amount of interest in Belize real estate. So many more people were willing to buy and invest in Belize now, think about moving to Belize now more than ever before. So, the lands department only has so big of a team. And, they have X number of workers, they have X number of paperwork and titles to put through. As those titles just back up and up and up, the lands department doesn't add more staff just to deal with the backlog. They deal with it as it comes in. So they work on a file, The file might be complete. Okay, it's processed, moves on. They might get a file, all right, and the file isn't complete, right? So now what happens? Well, now they have to put the file aside, get with the closing company, say, you're missing this, this, and this. Fortunately, Alberto and his team, when they put something through, you can almost guarantee it's 100% ready to go. So they make sure that everything is there. But other companies, not so much. But because of this, there's a backlog in the lands department. It could be not just a matter of a backlog processing the closing or the new titles. It could be that the evaluations department needs to look at and assess the value of the property. And here's where we've had that come back with several of our clients. For example, if you're buying a property that's worth $100,000, and that really is the value, and it's shown by, look, this property is in a prime location, it's worth 100,000, and you paid 40,000 for it. Well, the lands department look at that and go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but we're not gonna let you slide this through at 40. You're only going to pay 40 for it, but for as far as your stamp tax calculation, it's more like we'll kind of split the difference with you. We'll make it a 60 or maybe a $75,000 evaluation, because it's just like paying the blue book on paying the taxes on a blue book on a car. So, anyways, you got the evaluations. Also, along with that, you have the company registry. So remember, in any sort of given transaction, you have several different parties working on this. It could be the company registry, could be the lands department, the valuation department. So all those things go in. And like I said, even though we give a 60-day window on the closing, once things go into the lands department, well, now it's completely out of our hands. You own the property legally. All right, the property is yours, but it is going to take some time to work through points number 6, 7, and 8. And then finally, number 9, physical paperwork mailing delays. We've gotten so accustomed in the United States and Canada of mail and FedEx and UPS working within 12 hours, 24, 48 hours. But many times with a transaction in Belize, the paperwork is going from Ambergris Caye to maybe a seller in the United States, then to a buyer in Canada, and then back to Belize. And sometimes FedEx does not deliver overnight. In fact, most of the times, even in Belize, it can take a week or more for FedEx to reach Belize and actually Alberto's office. So what that means is we need to, when we get some paperwork as a buyer or seller, if something is sent to us, we need to get on that right away. So for example, any signatures that are needed, any due diligence that's needed that can't be emailed, we need to include that. If it requires a notary signature, Alberto's office will let you know. We need to get that done quickly as possible. Put that back in the FedEx envelope, get that on to the next party, get that on to Belize in order to have a successful close. So these are just some of the things that go into making up a successful close. It's not complicated. None of these things are complicated. In fact, most deals are pretty simple. You notice that from the paperwork for those of you who have already purchased. But these are the things that take longer and that maybe we're just not used to. Maybe we're used to things having a very quick flow. But in Belize, there are some things that could delay or hold up a closing or a title being issued. All right, so I think I gave you examples on most of these. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to know specifically about your property that's kind of going through the system right now, one thing you need to know is that Alberto's office is literally handling hundreds and hundreds of closings per month, and so they are really on top of their game. And the lands department knows them very well. So as they're just constantly shuffling paperwork to lands. Lands are shuffling it back. It's operating very, very well. But if you have So for example, if some time has gone by, you're waiting 5, 6, 7 months for something to come back, and you're going, well, I wonder where this is. Just shoot Alberto and his team an email, shoot me an email, copy me on it so I'm aware. And then normally they'll make a phone call, find out what the holdup is, where the paperwork is at, and they'll let you know. Sound good? All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure today. Hope you found some value to this video. Listen, if you like these videos, if you find them educational, helpful, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on anything. And as always, if you want to jump on a Zoom call with us, just buy me a coffee at the link below. Steph and I appreciate your support, and we'll be happy to see how we can help you make your dreams of buying and investing and living in Belize a reality. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.